Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of THFE. Today I have a Halo 4 map to share with you guys. Now this map is called Zen Walkway and it was built by DatCrispyToast, which is one of the funnier gamer tags I've seen in a while. But anyways, this map is built for Last Stand. And if you've been following this channel for our Halo 4 videos, you'll know that Last Stand is the game type that I created along with one of my good friends. That is of course the same game type that's in the Flood playlist in matchmaking. So as you can see, this map has a very unique theme. The name Zen Walkway pretty much sums up the theme. But basically the map is divided into 3 of these pagodas. There's a larger one and 2 smaller ones on the sides. And each of these pagodas has their differences, including the geometry both inside and out, and the weapons that you'll find there. The weapon setup alone is actually very different for a Last Stand map. There's a needler, a scatter shot, a shotgun, a hologram, and an auto sentry, all on this map. And you'll see how these weapons play out over the course of the video. It's always interesting to see new weapons being used in Last Stand because of the way the damage tables work. So I was actually a bit worried about how these weapons would work, but I gotta say none of them actually proved to be too overpowering. The scatter shot, even though it has a faster firing rate than the shotgun, it's pretty hard to get a one-shot kill with it. So the lower damage is a good trade-off for the faster firing rate. Now as for the needler, there's not a lot of long sight lines that you can use to your advantage. And for the amount of needles it takes to get a super combine and how often you actually have to reload it, the needler is a pretty balanced weapon to have on a map like this. You're going to notice that there are tons of gravity lifts that surround the map. Now these are obviously the flood spawns. They shoot the flood towards the survivors' holdout. Now this method of spawning flood into the map can easily be done the wrong way. The reason being that it can make the flood spawns pretty predictable. However, since there are so many lifts, it's almost impossible to keep up with watching all of them. So something that I've always preferred about Last Stand is the many ways you can give advantages to flood, and this is something I could have explained a bit more in the Last Stand announcement video, but basically in Hivemind, humans have the ability to get height advantage over flood much more often, whether it be standing on a high point, jumping around a corner to shotgun a flood, or just jumping above railings to get a better sightline. Now I think it's pretty safe to assume that shooting downwards at your target is most times easier than having to look up while a flood is midair. Now with the way this map is set up, the flood are actually given the height advantage in most cases because of things like the lifts and the railings that surround the map. This is exactly the kind of thing that a Last Stand map needs. The humans should feel scared. They should have to look above them and around them much more than a Hivemind map, because that's what sets a Last Stand map apart from a Hivemind map, is the ability to set up interesting ways of giving flood that height advantage. So again, this map just does such a great job of forcing humans to have to use their own awareness with that right analog stick. So now that I've rambled on about jumping being overpowered in flood, let's talk about the aesthetics. So this kind of oriental architecture is really difficult to forge with all the curved roofs and whatnot, and I think that may be why we haven't seen maps built like this before, is because it's so damn difficult to do. The forge palette is full of pieces with 90-degree angles, you know, very blocky pieces. So when you see something like this in Forge, it's always cool to take a look at how it was built. A lot of forged pieces fit together like Lego, and I think sometimes we forget that we don't have to connect the pieces together like Lego, and that there's actually a lot of creative ways to phase objects together. But yeah, that is pretty much gonna cover that video. I hope you guys enjoy the map. This is a great last stand map. Props to DatCrispyToast for making it. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.